No, seriously, we live in a timeline where half the AiOs out there are just the same factory unit wearing different brand makeup. They cost a fortune, promise the moon, and then thermal throttle like it's their full-time job. But every once in a while, something weird happens. You stumble on a build that's running cool as ice, silent, slick, and the cooler doing the job? Never seen it before. No RGB bloat, no tiny LCD with your CPU temp and your horoscope. Just called raw performance. And here's the part that'll really mess with your head. It didn't come from who you think it did. So today we're breaking the rules. This isn't just another top 5 list ranked by some random Amazon bestseller chart. No, we dug deep. We tested, we benchmarked, and we burned our fingertips. Swapping coolers to bring you the 5 AiOs that actually matter in 2025. There's something about this list that's going to leave you second guessing what performance really means in 2025. Stick around until the end, because if you bail early, you'll miss the thing that flips the whole list upside down. So let's dive into it. We're kicking off this list with a cooler that straight up disrespects the pricing norms, and that's exactly why it earns the number 5 spot. The Thermalright Aqua Lee 360 V3 ARGB white. Even though this thing clocks in at a price that feels like pricing typo, it still brings legit 360mm cooling power to the table. No gimmicks, no nonsense, just clean performance that punches above its weight. Now look, we're not saying this thing is gonna dethrone the liquid cooling gods, but if you're a budget builder or just hate the idea of overspending on RGB soaked fluff, this one's got your name written all over it. When we say value, we're not talking, oh, that's neat value. That's full radiator, 3 fans, RGB on the pump head, decent compatibility, and it doesn't sound like a vacuum. And this isn't some random AliExpress brand. Thermalright is a veteran in the cooling game, 25 years deep and still grinding. Their name might not get as much clout on Reddit threads as Corsair or NSXT, but they've been putting out solid air and liquid cooling gear for decades. The Aqua Lee 360 V3 may not be their flashiest drop, but it's got that classic Thermalright DNA, value, simplicity, and shockingly decent temps. On the build side, installation is clean. We're talking pre-installed fans, bundle fan hub, minimal cable drama. The mounting system is friendly to both AM4, AM5, and Intel LGA 115X, 1200, 1700, and 1851 sockets, which is pretty much everything from the past decade. More standoffs and you're done. Intel's bracket setup is a bit more old school, but nothing rage quit worthy. And props where it's due, Thermalright didn't go with pre-applied taste. They actually give you a separate tube of thermal compound, which, depending on who you ask, is either a thoughtful bonus or you have one job moment. We'll call it a plus, especially for those who like to spread their own way. So, how does it perform? On Intel's i7 14700K and AMD's Ryzen 7700X, this thing keeps idle temps respectable, low 30s, and on Intel high 30s on AMD. Under full load, yeah, it heats up, around 84 degrees on Intel and 87 degrees on Ryzen. But here's the thing, no throttling, no thermal freakouts, just steady, middle of the pack performance. And it's surprisingly power efficient too. During our tests, it's actually pulled the least wattage underload out of all tested coolers. Just 232.2 watts on Intel and 144.12 on Ryzen. That's wild, considering it costs less than a night out at Spur. What about noise? Not bad, not silent, but not annoying either. The pump sits around 30 decibel, fans around 25, and full load system noise peaked at 64.5 decibels. It blends into the background, especially if you've got other fans running. In real world gaming, it stays chill, around 50 degrees average temps and no screaming fans. So why is it number 5 and not higher? Simple. It's a value play, not a flagship slayer. It gets edged out in raw performance by some higher end models, and it lacks the deep software control or flashy extra some folks want. But for this price, it's criminally good. It holds the line, keeps your CPU breathing, and looks clean doing it, especially in all white builds. Oof. No fake hype, no markup madness. If you're trying to save cash for your GPU or SSD, this is the cooler you don't have to think twice about. Okay, pumpkin? If number 5 was all about value, then number 4 is here to prove that minimalism can still slap hard. Enter the DeepCool LS720 SE WH, a 360mm AiO that walks into the room in all white like it owns a place, then quietly drops your CPU temps without flexing too loud. This cooler isn't trying to steal the show, it's just here to win your respect, and maybe a few beauty contests along the way. Now let's get the obvious out of the way. This thing looks clean. White pump, white sleeve tubes, white fans, white radiator. If you're building a theme rig, especially something futuristic or stormtrooper coated, this is gonna tie the whole thing together, man. But don't let the aesthetics fool you. The LS720 SE WH is not just a pretty face. Cooling performance is where things get real. With 85.85 CFM fans and 3.27mm H2O of static pressure, this thing can move serious air through a dense 360 radiator, which means your CPU stays frosty even when it's taking a beating. In testing, we saw idle temps around 29 degrees and low temps topping out in the low 80s on an Intel i7 14700K. For AMD's Ryzen 7700X, a few degrees higher, but still well under thermal throttling territory. But where the LS720 SE WH really flexes is noise, or more accurately, the lack of it. These fans are whisper quiet. Even at high RPMs, it stays below 40 decibels in our tests. That's just above the ambient noise of a quiet room. You could literally game at midnight with this cooler and not wake anyone up. Unless your GPU sounds like a Boeing on takeoff. Installation shockingly smooth. DeepCool includes everything you need. AM4, AM5, LGA 1700 brackets, all labeled and packaged like they actually cared about your sanity. The fans are easy to mount. The tubes have a soft, flexible feel that doesn't fight you like some stiff-rigged coolers do, and the pump head can rotate to keep the logo aligned. Mwah. One small detail we love, the pre-applied thermal paste actually doesn't suck. It spreads evenly, covers well, and doesn't gunk up like a budget paste. Could you slap on some Arctic MX6 and do slightly better? Sure, but for 99% of users, what's already on here gets the job done. Now let's be real, it's not perfect. For starters, there's no built-in screen or telemetry. If you're expecting a full suite of customization software like NSXT Cam or Corsair ICUE, you're gonna be disappointed. There's no app here. You'll be tweaking fan curves and RGB using your motherboard software, which is fine, just not fancy. Second minor gripe, the RGB is subtle. If you are an RGB junkie who needs everything glowing like a nightclub, you'll probably want to swap fans or add strips. But honestly, that's kind of the point. The LS720 SE WH isn't here to shout. It's a silent killer in all white, not a disco ball in your case. So why is it number 4? Because it finds that sweet middle ground, premium look, strong performance, low noise, and a price tag that doesn't make you break into your emergency savings. Or your parents for that matter. It's a cooler you buy when you're tired of being disappointed by cheap AIOs but still don't want to spend flagship money. So forget about the nightclub. Coming in hot and keeping your CPU cool at number 3 is the Fantex Glacier 1 D30 DRGB 360. A cooler that looks like it was forged in an RGB workshop run by alien architects. Thank you. This thing doesn't just glow, it performs. If the DeepCool LS720 was your minimalistic white knight, the Glacier 1 D30 is your RGB demon lord. Let's not play coy here. The D30 fans are the stars of the show. They're Fantech's newest modular RGB fans that not only look insane, but also daisy chain like a dream. Forget cable spaghetti, these fans connect side by side with unified cables, which means you actually get high-end RGB aesthetics without turning your build into a wiring nightmare. We're talking digital RGB lighting zones on the front and sides with diffusers so smooth, you'll think someone turned your case into a light panel. But it's not just pretty lights and fancy fans. The performance is genuinely elite. With the dense 360 copper radiator, wide tubing, and a redesigned pump block, the Glacier 1 D30 goes toe-to-toe with some of the more expensive flagship coolers out there. On Intel's 14700K, we saw idle temps around 27 degrees, and under full stress, it held firm in the mid to high 70s, easily outperforming a few higher-priced coolers in our roundup. For Ryzen 7700X, even better. Temps stayed under 80 degrees even during long renders and multi-threaded workloads, and in gaming scenarios, the average hovered around 47 degrees, with no rampant fan noise to ruin the vibe. That's key, because no one wants to hear their cooler start screaming like it's in a horror movie every time they open Cyberpunk. Speaking of sound, this cooler is quieter than it looks. Despite those high-performance fans pushing over 72 CFMs at max RPM, noise level rarely exceeded 42 decibels under load. That's quite enough that it won't overpower your case fans, your GPU, or your existential dread during a ranked Apex match. The mounting system is also refreshingly solid. Whether you're running an AM4, AM5, or Intel's LGA, everything you need is in the box. Fantex even includes a breakout cable for the ARGB connector to make sure your motherboard doesn't throw a fit when you sync everything up. The tubes are pre-bent just right. The block orientation is user-friendly, and the pump has the premium brush finish that screams, "I cost more than your PSU." Even if you didn't. Now, you're probably wondering, why isn't this number one? What's the catch? Two things. One, software integration is limited. Fantex still relies on motherboard software to control fan curves and RGB. There's no standalone app, so if you're a control freak who wants telemetry dashboards and screen widgets, this cooler doesn't scratch that itch. And two, the price isn't exactly budget friendly. Compared to our previous entries, you're paying extra for aesthetics and premium engineer. Is it worth it? If you care about looks and airflow equally, absolutely. But it's not for the faint of wallet. And when we start moving into this price tier, some very strong competition shows up. That said, this cooler still earns its spot. It's not fluff, it's style and power, balanced with surgical precision. A rare thing in 2025, where most RGB laden AiOs are either overpriced gimmicks or airflow disasters. This ain't either. Sliding into second place like it just clutched a rank Apex match is the Cooler Master MasterLiquid 240 Atmos. And yes, we're talking about the 240 model. So if you were about to click away thinking, wait, it's not 360? Don't! This cooler isn't here to pretend it's the biggest, it's here to prove it's one of the best. Cooler Master has always had a bit of a split personality. One minute they're giving you classics like the Hyper 212 that worked forever, and the next they're launching AIOs that feel like they came out of a mid-2000s tech museum. I should know. I was a teenager then. But the Atmos line, that's Cooler Master saying, we heard you, we're done messing around. This 240 version is lean, clean, and quietly deadly. The new dual chamber pump has been redesigned for better flow and durability. And the fans? Cooler Master Cycle Flow Edge 120s, and no slouches either. You're looking at around 72.37 CFMs per fan, pushing respectable airflow with surprisingly low noise levels, even under load. And unlike most 240 units, this one doesn't immediately buckle when you crank up the heat. Let's get into the temps. On Intel's i7-14700K, idle stayed in the 30-degree ballpark, and under sustained load, the Atmos managed to keep it just under 83 degrees. That's solid, especially for a 240. On the Ryzen 7700X, we saw slightly better numbers, maxing out around 78.5 degrees during heavy multi-core tests. These aren't record-shattering numbers, but for a dual-fan AIO at this price and profile, they're impressive. Where it really wins, though, is in real-world gaming. This cooler isn't chasing benchmark trophies. It's about sustained, reliable performance where it counts. Our CPU temps in games stayed between 52 and 60 degrees, with the fans rarely needing to spin past 70%. Translation: cool, quiet, and consistent. You won't even notice it's there, and that's the point. Now let's talk install. Cooler Master absolutely nailed it. Whether you're Team AM5 or Intel LGA 1700, the bracket system is intuitive and the tubing is just long enough for most mid-tower builds without feeling cramped. It's got a compact pump block with a matte top plate and subtle RGB, and the cables are kept to a minimum. No tangled mess, no 10 different splitters, just to turn your cooler on. The Atmos is designed with sustainability in mind. Cooler Master built this thing with recycled materials, modular parts, and a footprint that's a bit more planet friendly. Is that gonna win you extra frames? No. But it does mean your cooling upgrade doesn't have to feel like tech waste waiting to happen. And it just might mean you're a cool dude that might just get some chicks. Now for the downside, and it's not about performance, it's software. Master++, Cooler Master's proprietary control app, still feels like it's an open beta. You can adjust fan curves and sync RGB eventually, but the UI is clunky, sometimes unresponsive, and just not on par with Corsair's ICUE or NSXT cam. If you prefer sending everything in BIOS or using your motherboard sync software, you'll be fine. But if you're looking for advanced telemetry, login, or a clean UI, this ain't it. Still, for a cooler that costs way less than a 360 flagship, still goes toe-to-toe with bigger rivals, the MasterLiquid 240 Atmos is a serious threat, especially in builds where airflow space is tight and silence is king. If you're looking for a cooler that works, fits, and doesn't complain, this is the one. But hang on, we're not done yet. Up next is what looks like our number one pick. Or is it? You'll want to stick around because what happens next might just flip your entire upgrade plan on its head. Alright, here it is, number one, the end of the line, the king of the cooling hill, the CPU whisperer, the one cooler that blends performance, prestige, and a price tag that'll make your wallet call for backup. The Asus ROG Ryujin 360 ARGB. Now listen, we get it. That's a mouthful. No, I'm kidding. This cooler is legendary. Asus didn't just make a cooler with this one. They made a statement. From the outside, it's obvious. You're getting a massive full-color 3.5 LCD display slapped right onto the pump lock, fully customizable. You want your CPU temp, your GPU stats, a looping meme, a low-res pic of your dog looking confused? Done. It's fully addressable, fully flex-worthy, and guaranteed to spark envy in any build video. But all that glitz wouldn't mean jack if it didn't cool like a beast. And the Ryujin 3 delivers. This isn't just flashy, it's functionality elite. It's packing Noctua industrial grade fans, yes, actual Noctua, rebranded and RGB'd up for the ROG lifestyle. That's like putting racing tires on a Rolls Royce. High static pressure, low noise, and airflow strong enough to chill even the most power-hungry CPUs of 2025. On our test bench with the Intel i7-14700K, the Ryujin 3 posted idle temps around 26 degrees and full load temps just scraping the 70s. On Ryzen 77, even better, staying under 75 degrees on their sustained multi-threaded loads. And when gaming, ice cold. This cooler barely flexes, it doesn't even try, it just wins. Now let's talk ROG software, and yeah, for once it's not a train wreck. Armory Crate still has its quirks, but when it comes to customizing the Ryujin screen, RGB zones, fan curves, and telemetry overlays, it's surprisingly responsive. Everything is where it should be. The display updates in real time, and yes, it supports GIFs, custom clocks, performance stats, and that one awful cat meme your friend keeps sending you. You know the one. Installation surprisingly smooth. Asus includes everything. Intel, AMD, Legacy, current gen, it's all in the box. Tube length is generous, the pump feels premium in hand, and the whole setup just works. The mounting hardware even comes pre-sorted into labeled bags. It's Asus saying, yeah, you paid a lot, you shouldn't have to suffer for it. Gee. Now at this point you're probably wondering, if this cooler's such a beast, why the butt in your voice? We're talking top tier GPU territory. You could build a whole budget PC for what this AiO costs. And at some point that performance ceiling starts hitting diminishing returns. Yes, it cools better than most, but is it 3 times better than a cooler that costs a third of the price? Not even close. That's why this isn't the real number one. You saw that coming, did ya? It's the expected number one, the flashy, obvious, influencer-approved prick. And don't get us wrong, if you want the absolute best with no compromise, this thing still earns its crown. But if you're building smart, if you're looking for something that actually disrupts the cooling game in 2025, that punches up instead of flexing down, you're gonna want to see what's up next. Because the real number one on this list is not from ROG. It's not overpriced. It might just be the best damn AiO you can buy right now. So here we are, the part where most top 5 lists would slap an end screen and roll the outro music and forget about the pretty face on screen. Not this guy. But this ain't that kind of list, and you've made it this far, you deserve to know the truth, because what if we told you that the real number one cooler of 2025 isn't the Ryujin 3 with its flashy screen and premium markup? What if it isn't even from a mainstream brand with sponsorships and RGB unicorns plastered all over social media? What if it's this? The Thermalright Frozen Warframe Pro 360 White ARGB, a cooler that costs less than half of what Asus is charging and still manages to throw hands in every category that actually matters. Because this twist isn't just for shock value, it's backed by numbers, real world testing, and that sweet Thermalright sauce we've come to expect from a company that's quietly dominating the budget to mid-range cooling market. First off, performance. On our Ryzen 7700 test bench, this cooler locked in a Cinebench loop at just under 93.5 degrees with zero thermal throttling while handling over 140 watts of draw and holding stable CPU frequencies north of 5.2 GHz. That's legit, especially when you remember this isn't some showpiece cooler. This thing was built to perform, not pose. Even at half fan speed and 3/4 pump RPM, the Warframe Pro held its own. Temps stayed cool, noise stayed low, it didn't try to murder our ears or roast our CPU. It just got the job done. Exactly what you want from a 360 AiO. And yes, it's available in both white and black. So whether you're building a minimal ice cold setup or going full Darth Vader or Dark Knight mode, you're sorted. Now, let's talk design. You get Thermalright's new TLP12 fans whisper quiet up to 1400 RPMs, cranking all the way to 2100 plus if you need to go full blast. The radiator, standard 360 size, solid construction, easy to mount. But the real showstopper? That IPS screen sitting dead center on the pump block. This isn't some sticker-sized RGB gimmick. It's rotatable, removable, magnetic display that shows your temps, voltages, frequencies, time, date, custom logos, GIFs or GIFs or GIFs, whatever you want, or whatever madness your RGB fueled heart desires. And the best part, it plugs in via USB Type-C. And Thermalright even includes a right angle adapter for better cable management. Want to move the screen off the pump entirely? Go for it. It's magnetic. Slap it somewhere else in your case and keep the minimalist vibe going. It's like Thermalright said, what if we gave you NSXT style customization without the NSXT drama? Of course, no twist entry is perfect, and we're not going to pretend this one is. The TRCC software, while feature-rich, can be a little finicky, especially if you've got another monitoring tools running in the background. Conflicts with hardware monitor apps and some motherboards can cause the display to freeze or throw up USB-related errors in Chinese that make you feel like you've hacked into your BIOS by accident. But here's the thing, unplugging and replugging fixes it most of the time, and the software is being actively updated. This isn't a deal breaker, it's just a part of the price you pay for flexibility on a budget. You're not getting Corsair's ICUE level polish here, but you're also not paying Corsair level prices. Let's be real for a second, the Frozen Warframe Pro isn't trying to win over the ROG crowd. It doesn't need to. This cooler is for the builders who care about performance and value. I'm talking to you, Henry Cavill. Who wants something with a little flair but a lot of substance. It's for the PC gamer who's tired of being upsold features that I'll never use. It's for the guy or gal who wants to slap their logo on their cooler, fire up a game, and never worry about thermals again. And maybe most importantly, it's for 2025. A year where everything feels overpriced, under-delivering, or trying too hard to be more than what it is. The Warframe Pro 360 isn't confused about its purpose, it's here to cool your damn CPU, and it does it better than most coolers twice this price. So yeah. This is a real number one. No screensaver fluff, no premium tax, no influencer lighting kit required. Just Brutal efficiency, low-key elegance, and actual engineering effort where it counts. The best AiO cooler we've tested this year isn't the loudest, the flashiest, or even the most hype. It's Thermalright's Warframe Pro 360, and it just flipped the whole list on its head. Boom. So now, it's your turn. Drop a comment. Which cooler would you trust in your next build? Would you go flashy and high-end, or are you rolling with the silent assassin that is the frozen Warframe? Smash that like button like it's an overheating CPU. And if you haven't already, subscribe to the channel for more brutally honest, research-backed breakdowns from the Level Up crew. And hey, I got good news. Some of the coolers we mentioned in this episode are available right now at Rebel Gaming. Hit the links in the description down below and do not miss out on their unbelievable prices. They will hook you up, and for the most part, they're amazing people. Except Jeff. Seriously, you struggle to find better deals even if you duct tape a GPU to a Ouija board. Oh, and one last thing, click this video up next before your temps rise higher than your GPU driver update anxiety. Thanks for watching, we'll see you on the next one.